The story behind that Tsonga is because in the past, like I said to you, I'm from the village. You know, a dusty village, Kgabalatsane. Yeah, we were still under that leadership of Bophuthatswana. Bophuthatswana in a Phuthabatswana, Ebia Batswana Bannosi, as opposing. The Bophuthatswana was very jealous of another tribe to be surrounding the Botswana.
Yeah.
So you would find the Tsonga people residing in Kgabalatsane being told not to reside amongst us Bakwena ba Mokgopa. There would be a special site for Tsonga called Motongwa Kotu.
Okay.
I interviewed another old man. I said, tell me about this. Why was this separation? That old man says, yeah, it's because they were saying in case there's someone to attack the village, they should start with this the Tsonga. So I said, okay, since that is the case, we are going to use this Tsonga program and say Tsonga people are people like us, Botswana people. We are one nation with one soul. So now we are going to bring out that mentality that a Tsonga person is nothing compared to the other.
Because it's about
by
humanity.
showing them now how we are capable as women of blending in cultures together. Embracing the Tsonga people. This is the main objective.
In the words of our founding president, Mr. Nelson Mandela, he says, our rich and varied cultural heritage has a profound power to help build a nation. And personally, I believe in those words. You will never find a successful nation around the world that succeeds without having their cultural heritage with them. However, I'm not a specialist in cultural heritage. We have a guest who's going to unpack with us, for us, what cultural heritage is. What are the things that we should be doing to keep us as a nation or as different nations to be able to preserve who we are, so that when we go out there and meet other nations, we can be seen to be who we are. Welcome, Sis Suzan. Tata.
Honestly speaking.
No, you know, one thing that fascinated me about this book, Poko ya Sekwena, ne? When I start reading it, it says Kgabalatsane village heritage. And the first word says Botaki, Mino, Budiragats, Mietlo le ditiragalo tsa kgale tsa Setswana. And the reason why I'm fascinated is simulaga leina lami, Botaki.
Botaki, wow.
Yes. Wa itse ga re bua ka Botaki le bonono. It's all issues of culture.
Yes.
So our guest will introduce herself, Suzan. This is one of the books she wrote, and as well as another book, Culture and Liberation Struggle in South Africa. She's got a chapter in this book, and the name of the chapter is 4 Generations of Consciousness, Cultural Activists, Tribute to the Kgasi Clan of Kgabalatsane, written by Suzan Skhosana. And this book is huge, man. Culture and Liberation Struggle in South Africa. There seems to be a lot of contributors in this book. But before we go into that, Suzan Kima.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for inviting me over.
Okay.
Which is showing that there's something very dynamic about the content of the work that I'm doing.
Yes.
Because not long time ago, I was invited by SABC News twice.
Yes. Yeah.
Then the Newsroom Africa. Then this is where I am currently.
Thank you.
So it's telling me that there's still a way to go in terms of giving me more strength to push heritage of my own country.
Correct.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
My name is Suzan Skhosana ni Kgasi. born and bred ko Kgabalatsane village.
Uh-huh.
It's in the northwestern side of South Africa.
Uh-huh.
I was born ko Morolong section, then 1684.
Okay.
That's where you find the 1921 museum house of Mfokeng Kgasi. My great-grandfather, 1864 to 1956 born.
Yeah.
Oilereng gore ineli bataki ba khale. Re boela back to the back part of this book.
The book, yes.
Ineli motaki. Ha ke bua ka botaki bo dira khatsi everything. Neeli ena in the past a pushang multidisciplinary arts and cultural activities from the very same house where I say I was born and raised from. So that house, that museum house, it told me we are like 1921. It also served the community of South Africa as an art and cultural hub. While he was raising his kids, raising his family from the very same building. And then continued. I mean, it was a music teaching hub.
Yes.
The early, 19th century. So followed by his son, Sergeant Sekano Samuel Kgasi. I prefer to address him as Sekano Samuel Kgasi instead of saying Samuel Kgasi.
Yes.
We are promoting our indigenous, knowledge systems and African still languages. In between. So he followed him from the same house, a producer, South African international multi-award winning jazz musician. I talk about top A-level jazz musicians. He also founded the jazz schools. To name them, I can say Buntate Gabriel Masike, who's now the founder of African Jazz Horns. He's in Europe as we speak. He'll be watching this. O'Grady Music School ko Alexander as well. He's running a music school. There's much I can mention, including his own sons. By Lorna Batamikela, the African jazz pioneers. Kgasi and Joe Kgasi. Even the sons produced, the unsung South African jazz musicians still. So amongst them, the last one to mention amongst that list, the products, it's my granddad. It depends on you, Mosoto or Botswana. So if you go to New Town, you'll find this the street named after him. Street. It's behind the National Arts Council.
Correct.
So same National Arts Council that is funding the projects, including this book publishing and launch. So from my great-granddad, the last born son, Kgasi, also teaching music from the same house. Kgabalatsane. Unfortunately, he passed on ka 2016.
Okay.
So I was the one left now to say I'm pushing the family legacy and heritage by continuing where they all have left.
Yes. And because Nekibatla was that question, but let's get into it because you are a poet.
Yes, I'm a poet.
You are an author. Yes. You are a gallerist. You are a jazz musician or lover. All those things bringing culture. So it seems like, as you said on the last part of your statement, Monna Mogolo berekile thata to influence the person that you are today.
Of course.
So why is it important for you to keep his legacy and the legacy of your clan continuing?
Yeah, by looking at myself being a cultural heritage expert, a heritage pioneer, heritage preserver, I most particularly inspired by him. I believe by just leaving everything out, it will mean his work will be taken down to the drain. I mean, imagine his vision. Why look at an example in the past? I mean, let me give you an example. There's been a talk documented that the country is suffering the historical record imbalances in heritage and history. You ask yourself why. It's because in the past, people were denied opportunities to write their own histories and own stories. So luckily my grandfather, yeah, he was those privileged ones who was standing firm on his word. He was not even afraid of the HIF government.
Yes.
He would even fight. They would come to that 1921 museum house saying to him, there is this stone that we need. That stone, they would say, "Re batla letlapale." He would say, no, I cannot allow you to take this stone because it's part of my heritage. Letlapa leo ke letlapa le lore, when he started building that 1921 museum house, o le kry-ile ha ntse a diga out to the foundation. So it was indication that before the existence of the first community group, Kgabalatsane village, still in the past, there were people, Botswana, they were staying in tree houses. So it was, that stone was, it's a heritage stone, of course. It was showing that the bana ba khale, bana ba use that stone lady sticks to create. It was an old match in a nutshell.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to push now where my grandfather have left in terms of various subjects and industries. Though in the past he was not documented here local. Instead, he was documented abroad. There would be even German missionaries taking his works from South Africa to go and exhibit in Germany, which is my new task now.
No, to bring this thing back.
Yeah, I'm trying to repatriate back the artworks of my great-grandfather back to the country. They are the South African heritage. They need to be exhibited at his 1921 museum house, where I have established the Bokwaskwena History Art Gallery. The gallery is sharing the similar name with the book because it's all about preserving what we have go Northwest, promoting dilo tsa Botswana, setso sa Setswana, promoting also Boswa. We are talking ka Boswa this time, a heritage of Botswana by Northwest.
Wow.
Thank you.
So we'll come back to the story because for me it's very potent. This artwork that is now in Germany, that needs to come back home.
Yes.
But when I read some of your profile, the old man has done so much. He has started schools. He has challenged how people were taught to say literacy is just reading the Bible.
Yes.
Give us a brief background about Monna Mogolo so that we understand his contribution.
Yeah. Firstly, I would like to describe him.
Yes.
Where was he born and raised? He was born in Rustenburg, originally, Komatlare, in 1864. And he died in 1956. So, ko Rustenburg, ko uthomile batloga ko Rustenburg. They left Rustenburg with the Reverend Behrens from German Mission. Batla Kgabalatsane. Batla ko Hebron near Kgabalatsane. That's where he was stationed with that German missionary. In between, they bought lands. There was 27 family members. They bought lands where we even find the local mining, taking place. There are still repatriation process in place as I speak in 2023. All these buyers of the land. So now, from 1894, he introduced Sunday school go Hebron. That's where now, before even that, there was a problem. According to his book, he was saying in the past, a certain couple in Rustenburg tried to poison their child because of so he had to stay Koko Hebron, introduced Sunday school in 1894. Then the local community village, Kgabalatsane, the earliest first Kgabalatsane community, they were now losing the Banababona. Almost everyone was going to Hebron to listen to his preaching and sharing of the word of God. So that's where the first parents said, no, man, we are having a concern. Why should we lose Banabana to Hebron? How about we talk to the local chiefs, the Kgasi? It's so that we don't have this frequent movements to Hebron.
Yes,
That's
yes,
where
yes.
now he was elected by Reverend Kgasi, who was leading the Hebron mission, go next to Kgabalatsane.
Okay.
So in 1894, I think the 4 to 5 May, he was elected to go and Christianize the earliest community of Kgabalatsane.
Okay.
Though he was not happy, Chief J.M. Mamkhale, who was by that time of 1894 the chief of Botswana. Jointly the Reverend Kgasi. That's where now he had to be told that in exchange of helping out the community, maybe we will see to it when you choose any stand of your choice from that land to stay at. So that's where now, before even relocating, they were fighting to buy the lands.
Yes, yes, yes.
But it's about those 27 families. They took out 150 pounds. Mariano dia short. The painful part is they were buying back their own lands. It's not like it was someone's land. No, this Engelbrecht.
Yeah.
One of those boers that took the lands. So they bought from Engelbrecht, giving him 150 pounds, and then they had
their land back.
Yeah, the value was actually 300 pounds. So they had to also go buy a game to add unto those pounds, or at least by cover up 300 pounds.
Wow.
And amongst the
sorry,
yes,
the land was 300
pounds value.
They had 150, but they had to add.
To add.
Okay.
Then they repatriated back the lands. And then during that repatriation, he was an earliest music writer.
Yeah.
He wrote the music, he also wrote hymns. So there was a special hymn he wrote. They repatriated back the land. It was a victory hymn, which is also documented in his book Tutoking.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a story about the repatriation of those lands. So now he was appointed to Christianize the community, and then
by the missionary.
Yes. So he was unhappy about the missionary education. According to him, he said the old government didn't care about educating a black child. Government is not if you say you highly educated, it's by knowing how to read indigenous books, Bible in Setswana, Sepedi or Sesotho, Bible Kgasi, including that Harepa. Harepa, the German missionaries, they take it and convert it with the Setswana lyrics, and then you say you are well educated. So he had to stop, bring all of that to a stop. It's an old-fashioned traditional education, that kind of a missionary education. He had to now call the earliest people by village, because he was also a self-taught sculptor. He cut the trunk of marula tree, batong etlang. Here's something that we call English. He introduced basic education. Under that marula tree shade. And then the people were sitting on the rocks. That's how Bahopa started getting exposure to basic education. And that caused now a protest.
Yes.
It influenced a protest because in the afternoons, the parents also joined him now under the same tree to learn. So the parents started a protest saying to the chiefs, this is the kind of education that we want. Coincidentally, when the chiefs started appealing with the old government, the government had to introduce now then the first umbrella house for all the missionary South African schools, for the black people to receive their professional now study, education, where you would see them now being in position to say, we are qualified teachers to start teaching people in South Africa. Though it was a challenge because remember he was given a missionary post. Now he was oppressed, where the missioners said, you cannot part with this position that we gave you. Remember, he wanted to leave his missionary post to go and study now in Kgabalatsane. There was the first umbrella house. It was called Kgabalatsane. People Teachers Institute.
Yes,
It
yes,
was
yes,
the
yes.
first college of education. And then according to my great-granddad, but they were exposed to English already, were those who were at the London missionary, at least. But the rest, anyone was chosen from a community, but you can be a teacher. So, Bible, but then,
Yeah, but
Jara,
that's the
you
end
are
of the
chosen.
education.
Yeah, Jara still. Jara, the corporates.
Yeah,
Jara,
yeah.
you are taken away for a year. You know, to work for a year. You come back home to the village. Even my granddad, Jara. You come back and then you are given one cow for working for 12 months. That was oppression.
Yeah.
So my granddad, there's a book that documents him. That's where you get stories, including the story from his book that he published. He published in 1949. There he was showing people now the importance of education after that introduction of the school in Kgabalatsane.
Yeah,
He talks about the experiences they faced in Barsiba at Kilnerton. Though, you know, remember it was published by Loveday Press. Loveday Press does not highlight oppression issues. Remember, I was telling you about the shortages of history books.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's because they were restricting blacks from publishing certain books, publishing certain stories about the challenges they faced in the past. That is one of the reasons we find the country having a lack of enough history books. They talk about real oppression, particularly in the northwestern side of the RSA.
Yeah.
So on his arrival, Kilnerton, before even arriving, he was threatened. He was given his position in 1894, but now him being interested to leave it so he can go now and study professionally and come back as a professional teacher to empower the community of Kgabalatsane village. He was threatened. They tell him, if you ever leave this missionary position, you must know that you will be now in charge of paying whoever we appoint on your chair replacement. You will be responsible for the monthly salary payments. And that did not stop him from proceeding with his study in Kilnerton. Regardless those threats of the German missionaries, he left for Kilnerton. Coming back,
So
he introduced the first school, Kgabalatsane.
yes.
I introduced in the past, sub A until standard 6.
Yeah.
If you say you have the highest level of study, is by having a certificate of standard 6. And the payments for school fees were used in a form of were in a form of eggs, basket of eggs, and the certificate of graduation was in a form of offal, cow offal, malamohodu.
Wow.
That was the oldest education by then.
Wow. So
Yeah.
this is a rich history.
Yes.
And the role that he played in helping to establish formal education, basic education, as you said. And as you say, there was intimidation, if you like, to say,
Yeah.
you don't leave this, you pay whoever comes. Do you know as to what was expected of him as a missionary then? Because the reason why I'm asking that, I think it's important so that we have that better understanding to say, what is it that because they were trying to remove him from making this influence, what was expected on this missionary side of things?
Like hence I said, he said the old government didn't care about educating a black child. To me, it looks like his people were supposed to stay illiterate forever and ever. So it was expected maybe of him to strictly focus on missionary teaching, which
is
was
more on the
not
Bible
benefiting the
side
black
only,
people.
yes.
Yes. And then what I like about him, there was a time the missionaries were captured. He was a commissioner to those missionaries, but it does not mean they Christianized him. They found him being a black South African missionary. Before even their arrival, his parents were still Christians. So I'm trying to say the missionaries, they did not convert him.
Yes, yes,
He, because of the passion they saw in him, they decided to jointly work together. But at the very same time, he was against the missionary education on black people. So the time the missionaries were captured, remember those areas,
Yes, yes.
he proved himself, I can run, because remember he was very professional and taken on a high esteem by those missionaries because of his biography.
Yes, yes, yes.
So they could not keep him down. He was able still, during that time they were captured, to run an office professionally, independently from them. And what does that tell you? Yeah. So there was a time he came back from that Kgabalatsane Institute. He came back as a professional, teacher. And then still he relates stories that took place in that era at Kgabalatsane, where people would even verbally, insult them. A person would say, I'll be particular. A white, teacher would say, where are the students or the learners from the missionary schools? An answer would be something like, "Ke bona ba ba bokoa ba." He said she was referring to all of those who did not attend at the London missionary school. Yes. Remember, they were not fluent with English.
Yes.
So that was the stepping stone for him to say, I'm motivated to make it a point that I come out from this institution professionally educated, and then I'm going to convert my people. Bagwena.
Yes, yes.
That's where on his return he introduced and built the school. One of the reasons Kgasi school was named after him at Kgabalatsane, which have also produced a lot of internationally world-known, we talk about Leslie Sidibe, Advocate Leslie Sidibe.
Yes.
They are products of that school. Then after that, he went to Johannesburg to learn from a private school, to learn music. Coming back, he started now teaching music. Remember I said 1921 Museum House was an art and cultural hub. That's where music and hymns were taught. Continuing him, his son, they were also performing and teaching music at the Lutheran Church, hymns, but at home privately, they are pushing arts and cultural things for the whole community, not for restricting Lutheran, not restricting people, including only Lutheran Church congregation, no. That's where you would find the jazz, I said, the top A-level jazz musicians, like Buntate, Gwigwimrwebi.
Yes.
So, he was like an earliest unsung South African author. Earliest South African poet laureate. I'm continuing his other side of art as a poet, praise poet.
Yes.
He was also a self-taught sculptor. Like I said, his works are in Germany. And then he was, an activist, using his works to talk to the community. Amongst his other works, he crafted with what tree was that? Linear discoloratory oak. He crafted an artwork. It was a queen, like a crocodile, trying to swallow an old indigenous man, smartly dressed in an European, outfit. That man was on his way to church. But he decided that, I'm so thirsty for liquor. He thought of the local shebeen. So that man now suddenly falls and is suddenly taken by the strong demon of that drink after visiting that shebeen. So my great granddad was using that crocodile in a form of that alcohol. Yeah.
So tell me, that metaphor of a crocodile and the alcohol
Yes.
and the sky being swallowed, is it based on a true story? Or it is just his demonstration of the impacts of these ills?
Thank you for that question. In the past, according to him, our people, they were so much into alcohol addiction. So he was trying to talk to his people, fokotsang,
yes.
because this is what alcohol can do to you.
Yes.
So in a form of a crocodile swallowing the particular person. Yes.
That's really a great way to educate and communicate.
The other one was a chain. If you can check, I'm the founder of Rancho Arts Education in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
That Rancho, it's named after the chain that he crafted. It's a chain with many links, and then they hold each other at the end of it. According to him, still in the past, blacks and whites were still having their own politics. They don't start just now. I mean, we talk about the 1900s stories. So now he was using it as a social cohesion way of saying, people, let's stick to unity. Otherwise, we will go nowhere as a nation of two different colors.
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons I have now decided to register an NPC, Rancho Arts Education Ensemble. Still continuing where he left off in terms of colliding nations together. Like now giving an example with the recent activities that we run at my gallery. We mix different cultures. We have different cultural exchange programs where we bring in Colombians, we bring in Rwandans, we bring in South Africans and local South African Tsonga, local South African Tswana. We work together as a team of women through dance. And we say to the world, this is what we need to bring in terms of unity amongst nations. And then we are now having a coming program. It's called Tsonga, South African, Colombian and Rwandan cultural dance exchange program, where we are colliding women together through dance and poetry.
Yes.
It's also supported by the National Arts Council. It's the new project that is about to take place soon, either in August and September month. What the story behind that Tsonga is because in the past, like I said to you, I'm from the village. A dusty village, Kgabalatsane. We were still under that leadership of Botswana. Botswana in a Batswana, Ebia Batswana Bannosi, as your person. The Botswana was very jealous of another tribe to be surrounding the Botswana. So you would find the Tsonga people residing in Kgabalatsane being told not to reside amongst us Bakwena ba Mokgopa. There would be a special site for Tsonga called Motongwa Kotu.
Okay.
I interviewed another old man. I said, tell me about this. Why was this separation? That old man says, yeah, it's because they were saying in case there's someone to attack the village, they should start with this the Tsonga. So I said, okay, since that is the case, we are going to use this Tsonga program and say Tsonga people are people like us, Botswana people. We are one nation with one soul. So now we are going to bring out that mentality that a Tsonga person is nothing compared to the other.
Because it's about
by
humanity.
showing them now how we are capable as women of blending in cultures together,
Yes, yes, yes.
embracing the Tsonga people. This is
Yeah.
the main objective after this program that is about to take place, that I have crafted.
So now you have just taken us through some of the activities that you do through the Art Gallery, the
Yes.
Ryanchu and other stuff. This must not be an easy feat, I want to believe, because you've got the national government with Arts and Culture Department, you've got provincial government. What is the relationship that you have there to ensure that this cultural heritage is not lost? And maybe before you answer, down the road here, we have we have the Hector Peterson Museum, for example.
Yes.
We've at Constitutional Hill, there's culture and the history being preserved. Is there anything around Kgabalatsane except what you do in that, where you work with government to ensure that this rich history is restored? I'm not a student of history, however, I'm well read, but I honestly have not come across what you told me now, Kgasi, and this is the history that we should not lose.
Thank you for asking that good question about my government. I won't be hiding anything. Honestly speaking, coming to that question, I feel sad to even answer it, because I feel like we are underserved. I can still say I'm underserved. I'm representing different departments. I represent different brands that I have founded. I represent so many communities that are even empowered through these programs that I run. It will be so heartbreaking. You host even a cultural and heritage programs in your own country, in your own province, in your own village. But sad part is you find the presence of the outside countries visiting your home. Imagine you host the Colombian embassy, you host even Kenya embassy. You host the Congo delegates, Zimbabwe, Cape Town, etc. Everyone across SA fascinated of the content of your work. You even get invitations, from the same delegates locally here. They support our programs. You ask yourself, and then what about our own government? Is it not? Are we not visible enough? I mean, imagine I'm in the village, so remote. Look at me, I'm here, I'm in Johannesburg. Why can't we have our own studios in Northwest, being invited by the Northwesters production companies?
Correct, yeah.
So many companies have been inviting me, SABC, etc. Imagine those movements. What does that tell? The problem started in the past. I wish there can be a way when my own government can say, Suzan, we are now aware of what you are doing for the country. Because if I can give you the bio of the tourism that we bring in Kgabalatsane village, you'll be very much impressed. And
please share with us just high level.
Yeah, like we have had so many programs that I've mentioned already that we bring.
The Colombia,
yes,
Kenya,
yes.
and other, yes.
So I wanna touch base on the old government and the current government. I personally feel like I'm also going through the same paths that my forefathers have went through. Remember, my great-granddad brought tourism in SA. My grandfather, who I mentioned that he produced even Buntate Gwigwi Mwebe, he also is a Second World War veteran. He survived the Egypt battle, and then he produced sons. Sons also had a struggle with the old government. That's the reason of the existence of that book, Liberation, Culture and Liberation Struggle. Because I talk about the struggle of my great-granddad while, contributing to the country. I talk about the struggle of my granddad, the son to my great, still him liberating the country. I talk about the struggle of my uncle, Kgasi, who was the member of the African Jazz Pioneers, leading as a trumpeter. I talk about he lost his life in 2016. Financial lack of support, financial struggle, while representing the country in so many countries to mention. After him, here I am. I shouldn't be the one continuing with all the struggles of my forefathers while I'm trying to emulate them through their contributions that they have made to the country. I should be celebrated. I should be supported. I should be recognized because this is not just a heritage project to to just live as it is like the other programs. This is a legacy of Northwest. If I can get into the struggles the other uncle went through, like the son of this brother to Kgasi, Kgasi, he also suffered some challenges where he introduced the first Soweto brass band. He was also a friend to. I actually wrote books about all of them. I wrote 10 books. Each and every one I talk about their struggle. So the Kgasi biography is a highlight of all those books and all those struggles. Their contributions to the country and the challenges they faced with the former government, which I'm not expecting myself to be facing. Imagine I'm sacrificing my life. I'm sacrificing my kids, saving the government, saving South Africa, but what in turn do I get? Many people have left the industry and said, I'd rather go and become a lawyer. But I chose to proceed with this. Because I believe if I don't proceed with this, who else will preserve this legacy? And if I continue, somewhere in the long run, I know my province will realize that there's something important about this, because at the end of the day, there are imbalances still in terms of, let's now get into the jazz music. There are imbalances. There's a belief that African jazz was introduced by, the popular legends of Johannesburg. I'm here to say there's no such, because of us as researchers being not given a limelight to come and present our stories. That's one of the reasons it is found that Johannesburg is the most powerful province in terms of,
Give us a crash course. Give us a crash course on the evolution of jazz music.
It is so sad. If I can break down my sad stories per industry, the music side, poetry side, we can spend the whole month here. But I'm glad that you have invited me. It is so believed that Bontate Huma Sekela, Abigail Kubek, Jonas Gwangwa, Sophie Hinga, I'm not good at pronouncing but Abigail Kubek, Tandit Lassen, Nabu Abdul Ibrahim.
Those are great names,
Great names, and then they are great to have found that. Introducing jazz music in, let me say, SA, African jazz music, following that Cape Town jazz music that existed in the past. Check their dates of births. I'm not going even further. Let's start with the older one, maybe Miriam Makeba. We have those ones which came before them in Northwest. My granddad, Samuel Kgasi, who was a World War II veteran. He led jazz bands. He even worked with Tate Meo Bubu Doliratebe. He was the driving force behind Me Dolly Rathebe and the Harlem Swing Stars.
Okay.
Yeah, imagine age ya me Dolly Rathebe and age of my granddad. And my granddad was born in 1913. So I was introducing currently proposing for the Northwest South African Jazz Festival launch. Because if you can check, Cape Town Jazz, we have Cape Town Jazz, we have Joburg Jazz, we have KZN Jazz. Of course, there is Makufe, but it's far that side of Bomafikeng.
Yeah.
We still need our own brand to be associated with Northwest Jazz Festival. We need it. I'm here, I'm introducing it. Unfortunately, the National Arts Council says the resources are not enough. Our application was declined. But we are happy they funded the Zwakitonga project.
Yes.
So now, that jazz festival, it talks about issues that I have mentioned. We have people that came earlier, the 1909, they were calling it 09.
Yes.
The 1913, the 1912 born, the 1914. And amongst, I don't only talk about heroes only. I talk about heroes, both heroes and heroines.
Yes.
They were celebrating Sophia Town, the Sophia Town music. Even us, that side, we had Marabastad and Lady Selborne. Still before Marabastad and Lady Selborne era songs, there were still old men at my village. I named them in my coming book, the Kgasi biography.
Yes.
Which is also the introduction of Northwest Jazz South Africa. So, I witnessed it when I was a child. They would come, where I'm operating the Bokwasukwena History Art Gallery, they would come in the past and then, sing music in a jazz way.
Okay.
And then, while my grandfather on Saturdays was teaching music in a balcony of the 1921 Museum House. Saturdays, there were switches. I mean, like when he comes, because he was a migrant worker in Johannesburg as well, coming back home, he would bring whiskeys because he was privileged to buy a whiskey by the old apartheid government. It didn't allow.
So he had a license to buy?
No, because of a privilege of him being a survivor of World War II, and also the privilege of him being taken on a high esteem, where he would conduct black and white, orchestras. Him being so learned with music, teaching music. I think his contributions were also giving him privilege. A person would say, maybe why would he get such privileges? But he was following the steps of his father, where he wouldn't take anything no for an answer, and they respected him for that. Giving an example with his father, Yana, my great granddad, Kgasi, he at some stage named, there is a Bible exhibited at my art gallery. It's almost this size, the Holy Bible that belonged to, it's part of the heritage. It needs to be embraced. It needs a glass to shelf.
Yes.
That Bible is over 100 years old, years by age.
Is it different from any other Bible, except by size? But the books and other things, is it the same?
It's not, but I don't want to get into details because we will miss on other important things that I wish to share. He owned it as the second person. The first person who owned something like that was in that David Mokhatle. The point I want to make about this David Mokhatle that I don't want you to lose is that my great granddad was against the European names. He was fighting for this naming of David to Ntate Mokhatle. To me, David is similar to Mokhatle, so he had to create a surname and name him David Mokhatle Modiba. At least he now has an
Botswana,
African
yes.
name to be identified with. So he had to get approval, endorsement from Professor Malau and Professor Hrif. Though I don't know much about them, but it was just documented that he had to get approval in Rustenburg. So in the past, if you go to, remember we spoke about Jara, if you go to Jara, those Boers would give you a name, January or February or March. So he was against the indigenous, lack of indigenous names, which can tell you that he was different to the missionaries. And he was like a man with his own weight. So according to the book of Dr. Elsamal Spota, it mentions that Reverend Behrens took Kgasi as a man of high esteem, because still his artworks, remember I said they were documented, exhibited in Germany, in Hermannsburg and Berlin. I still have to go, depending. Once funding is in place, I will go to Germany. I've already approached Reverend Lang. The current generation of the Lang family, at least, is still there in Pretoria. Mamuruti Lang says she can accompany me to Germany to show me the village where I can repatriate back the works of my great-grandmother.
Are they willing to?
She volunteered. So it's all about getting support of my government.
Yes. Have you approached the government in that regard?
The first I approached was Lottery. Lottery said they ran out of funds. But I won't stop knocking. I won't stop knocking.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I think I just hope that that continues and you definitely get it right to repatriate. You know, when we use Shakespearean language, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, because there's value out of it to come and educate, but also to preserve our own culture as part of the cultural heritage.
Yes.
Can I just go back a little bit to the jazz example?
Okay.
Where do you think that history could have been lost? At the beginning of this conversation, you spoke about the imbalance. Why do you think that could have been lost? Why was that history not captured? And definitely, this is not taking away from Abuntate Hugh, Dorothy, and whoever. But where do you think that could have been lost?
You know, in the past, even putting that past to the present, history was lost in a big way. Not only on the literature side of it, even the jazz music part of it in SA, where I'm gonna be particular using my village as a springboard. The reason why people could not be seen on television is because in the past villages were poverty-stricken, disadvantaged, and very remote. Even now, we still come to Johannesburg, to look for gold. What does it tell? The struggle hasn't yet stopped. So those heroes and heroines could have been somewhere in life. Look at them. They were singing music, creating songs, but they all ended where I am currently running the gallery. I mean, you may wish you could have existed in the past in those eras. Maybe I would have done something different, by saying, here's my unsung heroes and heroines. Let me present their work. But what does it tell you about the past existing people that could have had such privileges to present? It tells that still the government was doing nothing about supporting villages in the past, unlike now. Yes. So
continue.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to ask on the basis of what you said, because it continues to accentuate the importance of cultural heritage.
Yeah.
What is the role of universities and other institutions. We spoke about departments of arts and culture as an example. We spoke about the provincial government, but I'm now talking at the institutions of learning. Are we still having, do we have the right books to read? Are we having a lot of people from your field, cultural experts, writing books so that we can change the narrative? What do you think is happening in that space?
Yeah, you know, asking that question, you reminds me at some stage, I got invited by the university in Cape Town, where I was invited to do a presentation of the culture to, you know, the university students, including the whole driving forces of the university by Professor Mark Swalling.
Okay.
Mark Swalling also, he managed to at least luckily write a letter of appreciation, a letter of appraisal for the work that I do at the University of Stellenbosch. He did mention to me that, you know, it's time that the country have to move away with this thing of, you know, strictly focusing on only on sciences and technologies. You know, culture is also is vital for the, you know, empowerment of other, you know, cultures.
Yes, yes.
So that was the last time I got in touch with Cape Town University. At the very same time, I got exposure to learn what the university is capable of doing in terms of the gardening farming, which inspired us to run our own gardening projects from the same gallery. So I cannot say much is done by the universities. I cannot even criticize them. Sorry, because for them to be unaware of people like us is because there are no enough door knockings. And then for you to knock at the door, you don't just drive your car without a petrol and you put water and say, I'm going to Joburg University or Pretoria or Cape Town to do this kind of presentation from the village. You still need to be supported financially by your own government for you to have fuel to say, this is me. I'm here to present the South African story. Otherwise, without the support, there's very same stories and stuff will still be into the drain. And then that's where we lose our cultural heritage.
But you have shot some emails, I think. You have shot some emails, you have done some proposals.
A lot.
And how's that going?
I've already mentioned that, I've done with the National Arts Council. So we are looking forward to present another, because there's another call that came through. So we are hoping for the best results. And then we also busy with the lottery application. So this time we are hoping the lottery with the developments up to so far that are taking place in the organization, especially that we have proofs through pictorial journeys. They will be able to say, no, this time let's support these people because we are expanding. Our departments have expanded. We even have the disability department where we team up together with the skill college and inviting local disabled, you know, people to come and be given things like bursaries and you know, skills and training. So we believe having expanded, we believe the lottery and the government in a nutshell, will realize that we have no space. We run so many departments. We have music departments. From that music department, we have a band. It's a 12-piece band, a jazz band. It's named Matsuba. Matsuba. Actually, I need to give you the short glimpse of who was Matsuba.
Correct.
From the same premises that are behind the 1921 of my great-grandfather Museum House, where I'm running the art gallery. It used to be a space. Remember I said while my grandfather was a migrant worker, working also saving the Eagle Star of South Africa. he was multi, functional.
Yeah.
So during those time, in the past you would have to leave. You would have to leave your wife and kids to raise and come to Johannesburg to the goal, the place of goal.
Yes.
So at the very same time, that space, PAS History Art Gallery, it's a heritage space. It's also over 100 years. I mean, 1920, 102 years old. Old men and old women, like I said, they were practicing music. But strictly, PAS was for old women. And the 1921 Museum House of Kgasi, Heritage of Kgasi, was a space for men.
Okay.
So my granddad would use the balcony teaching music, sometimes jazz music, sometimes Lutheran church hymns. At the back of the house, my granny would be, I'm named after her, Suzan Skhosana.
Okay.
Would be teaching, would be directing Matsuba. Those were the unsung 1913. There were still 1909 born.
Yes.
Though strictly it was for the 1913 born, but they wouldn't chase away somebody who was born in 1909 to say, I'm here to, as a neighbor, enjoying the jazz feel. So that's where the music started at the back of the 1921 Museum House. So I remember I was 13 years old. They would be singing this song. Nehonale shopoko dry uku. Beats ola yona ke western. So they would dance pata jive and sing. So there would be this old woman, Koko Makana. She would be also dancing pata. That inspired me. I was only 13, maybe. I'm not sure of the ages, during the, because remember, it didn't stop. Even I was born in 1973, but I witnessed it.
Yes.
During my earliest times, where there would be.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where, currently, I decided to move the past to the present by naming my band Matsuba.
Yes.
That 12-piece band. And then the band have also performed. Still, we were sponsored by the National Arts Council. It performed for, I created an event, the Kgasi tribute. Unfortunately, the COVID affected us. It was supposed to be held at the State Theatre. The president's office closed it down because of the lockdown and all. Yeah. Then we were forced to host it I hosted it in Randburg. But we embraced the Kgasi legacy.
Yes.
And then the next one was supposed to be the Northwest Jazz Festival, where we say these are the earliest founders of jazz in the country, in Northwest province. That came before Bontate Hugh Masekela. Naming them, unfortunately, there are no funds from the National Arts Council to meet up the budget for the festival, but it's not the end. What I like about it is that it's different to all these other festivals that have been experienced. This will be a festival to share the history of jazz in villages.
Yes.
Where those who experienced the eras of those who formed that history are still in the country to say, I knew Kgasi, I knew Samuel Kgasi, I knew Life Kgasi, I knew Joe Kgasi. The list is plenty to give. So we were going to be having also the African jazz pioneers to perform for the festival because they are part of this history. Life Kgasi was the leading trumpeter, who's also a product of his 1913 born father, who was a jazz music teacher at the village. We also have Joe Kgasi. Like I said, he was an exile veteran. He was exiled for over 10 years. As a result of, he was a music teacher, friend of Bontate Michael Masote, Bontate Jonas, Gwango, Bontate, the brother to Kipi Moeketse, Jacob. He was a best friend to Jacob. He even worked with Bra Jacob and Michael Masote. They worked for Johannesburg City Council.
Wow.
He was heading the cultural section, which is showing you that he was forwarding the legacy. So he was wrongly accused of teaching politics while he was teaching music, emulating his father and not father and grandfather. So the 1976 Soweto riot police,
Yes.
they were like hunting him down.
Under
He had
false
to be
accusation.
a fugitive in his own country, falsely accused of teaching politics while he was teaching music.
Okay.
Because of some of his music students were into politics. So
I
they
see.
got a false assumption that he might have been the driving force of the politics that were taking place. So he had to run away. He became exiled in Zim.
Okay.
And then
You say
he
for
came
10
back.
years, eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
he over 10 years. He came back after the release of Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
Because that's where South Africa got freedom.
Yes.
Unfortunately, while he was exiled, the family could not get letters because those who were exiled were not allowed to bring in letters. Otherwise, we were going to be harassed as his family. Through the mercy of legendary Abigail Kubeka, Sophie Mklingal, Thandi Klassen, the family got the privilege to get a letter. They had to, because they had some big gigs in Zimbabwe. That's why they had to hide a letter, ship it into the country, and then it went to Poker Street. From Poker Street, it came to the village, Kgabalatsane. But unfortunately, the sad part, it came the night before the burial of my granny. And the letter was for my uncle to say to his mother, Mom, I'm still alive.
So she died not knowing that she's alive.
Yes.
Wow. No, that's the sad part of our history,
and
to be
the
honest.
saddest part was that he could not bury his mother. Not only him, even his youngest brother, whom he joined after coming back to South Africa, who together with him were leading the African jazz pioneers as trumpeters. They could not bury their mom because the last one was on tour outside SA with the African jazz pioneers.
Okay. Rich history, I must say.
So imagine not proceeding with this kind of stories of oppression, stories of,
educating the nation about this.
And also entertaining at the same time, because we have entertainment.
Now, talking of education and entertainment, the young people are always regarded as the torchbearers for the future.
Yes.
How much are they involved in cultural heritage activities, attending dance music, attending poetry, and all those things? How is that happening, and what role are you playing to encourage the young people to preserve this cultural heritage?
I appreciate because, these are the main important groups of people to be mentioned because they are our future leaders.
Yes.
We are going nowhere. Age is not by our side. So actually, they were supposed to be the first people for myself to embrace on the opening of this discussion.
But it's not late.
I have like I've mentioned that I have already established a band.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a matured professional band music, that one. But lower than them, we have a cultural dance troupe, Morolong cultural dance troupe.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Kgabalatsane Morolong children's, Setswana cultural dancing troupe. It's led by my daughter, Olorato. She's 13 years old. So these kids have done amazing works. We've been also supported to move their programs by the National Arts Council. Unfortunately, we lost a deal for preservation of the ongoing operations of that department the children's department, but we will still seek for help from somewhere else for them to still be ongoing through the programs. So these kids have performed very well. They also performed for many programs that I created for them. That includes also the launch of my book. My book launch also was a joint celebration of the 82-year birthday remembrance of Mama Abigail Kubeka in 2021.
Yes,
Remember, she was amongst those who brought that letter from exiled uncle. So we were embracing her, acknowledging her, and saying our South African legends, they need to be celebrated while they're still alive. So we had a birthday celebration, tribute, for her. She came to the village at the PAS gallery. So these kids were performing for Mama Abigail. They performed for the embassies, Kenya embassy. They performed for Colombian embassy, which was present here in South Africa, which was at the village. The embassy even brought the Colombian. A big Colombian flag, where I was wishing my own government could have also brought a South African, flag to say we are welcoming you Colombians to this land Kgabalatsane. Unfortunately, it was such an embarrassment because I also invited by then, our leaders for them to be the ones welcoming the Colombians. I'm hoping with the near future programs, when I invite them, we get their, even if we don't get their financial support, but at least their presence to say, for these Colombians to say, okay, we are welcoming Kgabalatsane village.
But it just shows that the world is so small because there are a lot of things that bring us together. One being culture, because probably there are synergies from Colombia, from Kenya, from other nations for us to continue to build this thing as a human nation. I mean, we might say Colombians, South Africans, but at the end of the day, we are a human race, and we are preserved by one thing, which is our culture. And thanks for bringing the youth into it. I always watch the Setswana dance. I don't know what it's called, but I love it so much. And those are the things that we definitely continue to preserve. Of late, when you listen to TikTok, I'm so impressed by how people are impressed with people speaking their vernac. Because that's how we preserve our culture. And the work that you're doing, it's actually so important not to lose our history, but besides the history, our artifacts, our practices, and every symbols that we need to grow ourselves. Now,
that takes us back to the blurb that you were reading.
Yes, no, definitely.
And I didn't mention something about these kids. Who are kids? Morolong Cultural Dance Troupe. It was performing at the Colombian 2022 festival.
Nice.
For 2 days.
Okay. No,
it was an online though visual one. But
yes.
They represented South Africa abroad.
Great. So let me ask, where, except in your gallery, where do people find these books and the upcoming ones?
Okay. Culture and Liberation Struggle in SA.
From colonialism to post-apartheid. An anthology of articles, biographies, interviews, personal memoirs, photo essays, and tributes. This culture, it's
edited by Dr. Lance Nawa.
Yes.
Yeah, Professor Wali Surutu is also amongst the engineering editors. And then you can find it. You can Google Noasa, you can Google Dr. Nawa. It can be found.
Okay. In closing, because this book has got, it's more than 100 years of poetry. That is contained in this book. And most governments, but speaking directly to our government now, we never have an official opening without a poet. And it would be a remiss of us to close this session without you giving us 2 lines, 3 lines of one of your poems.
Kgabalatsane moriti naga dikgomo le batho. Naga ke lela lenato ke letse Kgabalatsane moriti ka re naga e senang sekgopi. Sekgopi sa yona se sengwe. Ao sekgopi sa yona lenyora le bona ga etsatsi le eng. Ao moduana bo le kgera. gore hulara kwa rapopele dipetlwana di sala ko mapenane bana ba gago kwa gae ba lela ba pelo ya botlhoko ba re o modiwane maitsho re a mose a fara lala le lenyoro le teng re reng o Kgabalatsane moriti gomola mosabetsana gomola ke go belege ka thari ya namane.
What you have done to us today is so rich, just sharing your cultural heritage and walking us into the village of Kgabalatsane. Otherwise, how can we know about this unless if we have such conversations?
Yes.
The viewer out there is only one way you can preserve yourself, and it's by understanding, embracing, and respecting your cultural heritage. You are your language, you are your dress code, you are your music, you are everything that represents who you are from your own cultural space. Yes. And until then, I would always say, be proud of being you. Until the next episode, we really appreciate.
Arsenal Lefufaka Sahabo, Kgasi sa gagwe. The quote by Kgasi.
Wow.
Written in 1894.
Wow.
Thank you.